Pentecost. It's time for a big transition. On Easter, Jesus appeared to his followers, revealing the good news of the resurrection and explaining to them the scriptures, explaining what he had taught them, and the good news that they were going to go share with the world. Now, it's time for them to go out and do that. Share the good news, continue Jesus' work. The advocate and power that was promised shows up to empower them with the skills, courage, and inspiration needed to carry out their mission and follow their calling. Big transition, big moment. The Holy Spirit shows up, and it's not like a subtle little nudge, right? Sometimes we think about God's guidance like that, but not today. Not today. This is fire and wind, rushing wind, the kind you have to, lower your center of gravity to walk around in. I mean, we've had some days this spring. You know what I'm talking about. Big things are happening, things that the apostles can't stop. They are given gifts and they cannot help but use them in this moment. Speaking up, sharing the good news of Jesus and the work of God with this power from the Holy Spirit. Those who are there are a little bit more than a little surprised by this, though. And so, they try to make sense of it. They try to figure it out, explain it. But this is the Holy Spirit we're talking about, and amazing things are happening, things that haven't happened before. So it's not going to just make sense automatically. No one is walking around there saying, oh, it's just the apostles and that's just what they do. No, Peter has to speak up, to stand up for them, really, and explain what's going on. Because big things are happening. The movement that will become the church has begun. And in this moment, barriers are being torn down between people and nationalities as all the languages from all those regions listed are spoken. That's amazing. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the same Holy Spirit that we call on in baptism and pray is poured out on our confirmation students today. That's the same Holy Spirit that unites us to God and sends us out into the world and is with us to guide us along the way. You have this Spirit. We've talked a little bit about those gifts and talents and skills that we have to share with the world. And kind of like the apostles today, the thing I started to notice about these things is that they're kind of the pieces of us that we can't really switch off, right? They're compelling. They're undeniable. I mean, even if I'm absorbed by a million other things, there are those pieces of us, those gifts and skills that we can't just ignore or put aside, right? Because they are there. They're part of us. What is God compelling you to do? That's a big question. But today's a big day, so we get to ask the big questions. What is it that you have to bring to the world around you? What are those skills and gifts and talents? Art, music, organizational skills. I mean, some people I know can walk into a room and in their mind they just start rearranging things to be more efficient or just more better arranged, really. And I think that's a gift because I don't have it. Maybe it's an unfailing positive attitude, right? There are people I know who always are able to see the silver lining, and that's amazing too. Or a good work ethic. Maybe it's an eye for detail or an eye for the big picture. Both of those are needed. All of that is needed. All of you are needed. Today is a big milestone, but milestones are not finish lines. For Pentecost, it really is the turning point in the apostles' mission as they will now go out to the world, the whole world, to share God's love and do God's work. For our confirmation students, it's the turning point where you affirm for yourselves the promises made on your behalf in baptism. and take on a more active role in pursuing and discerning your faith and how that is lived out in your life. It's a milestone, though, not a finish line. And God is going to continue guiding you along the way. Oftentimes, when I think of listening to God and the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, I do think of those little moments of inspiration and those times when you see how things should be, or have a feeling or get that gentle nudge about the right thing to do and follow that. And there are moments like that. But then there are moments like this too. Compelling, undeniable. Because this is God we're talking about. God the Spirit, and that's powerful. So I guess maybe I could think of it a little bit like music, right? There are simple melodies, lullabies, things like that, but there are also epic rock concerts and over-the-top symphony orchestras, right? But all of that is still music, right? From background music to undeniable, compelling music that you can't ignore. But listen for all of it. Listen for the subtle nudges and the moments that are so compelling and undeniable that you can't ignore them. Pay attention to the things that you can't switch off, those gifts and talents that you have, because those are gifts. Those are the pieces of you that the world needs, the amazingness that you have to contribute to the world. The world needs that goodness. So go out and share it. And then come back and be recharged and help recharge others too. Because that's part of what this is for too, to help and be helped, to prepare, to be ready to go out and meet that world with the love and goodness and grace of God that we learn about and talk about here. To be able to shake things up, to follow that fiery Holy Spirit, to find the next step on the track, even as we celebrate and pass this milestone. To continue. Keep going.